Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, and Shinrin Yoku. Bringing you a grand solar minimum update Tuesday, June 15th, 10 p.m. Mountain Time, 2021. Record heat, but first, Etna, another powerful lava fountaining event, and tourists, well, doing dumb stuff and potentially winning the Darwin Award. But the big story, record-smashing heat wave poised to send temps even higher tomorrow. Take a look at the record-breaking temperatures that the mainstream is telling you are your fault. There they are. Keep calm. It's boom time. Severe thunderstorms brought large hail across parts of Maryland and many regions in the east over the last 24 hours. Were you part of it? Western wildfires spread through California and Arizona as drought furthers extreme fire conditions. The only problem with that is you're going to be told that it's record-breaking and your fault, but back in the 1920s and 30s, there was up to 5 times as much forest area burned, well, in the U.S. National Weather Forecast, heat wave in the west as temperatures will reach into the 110s. Yes, of course, in Death Valley where it gets 134 degrees regularly. Low humidity, gusty winds also bring heightened wildfire danger. Well, we told you about that. Now let's talk about actual heat waves. The heat wave of May, June 1934. The U.S. had an unprecedented heat wave during May and June of 1934. Al Gore's a bore. Temperatures in the... Shut up, Al! Get in your hole! Temperatures in the Midwest and Upper Great Plains were over 100 degrees every day from May 26th through June 8th. Let me repeat that. Temperatures in the Midwest and Upper Great Plains were over 100 degrees every day from May 26th through June 8th. Peaked at 111 degrees on May 30th. Holy macaroni. That's a heat wave. All of the purple are areas above 130 degrees on May 29th, 1934. All the purple areas are areas above 100 degrees. May 30th, 1934. All the areas in purple are above 100 degrees. May 31st, 1934. Are you picking up what I just put down? And they're talking about a severe drought because we have a little patch of severe drought in the southwest here. Take a look at the Palmer Drought Severity Index of May 1934. Over a dozen states completely covered in severe drought. July 1934, 15 states. 20 in severe drought. That is a severe drought. And also controlled by the sun. Now, quick side note. Meanwhile, at the G7 summit, they had an on-site meeting to discuss dangerously rising sea levels. Here you can see all the globalist schmucks, including not my president and other schmucks, oligarchs that claim that they control humans. What could be more stupid than that? Well, how about the shoreline back here in Carbis Bay 2021 being the same as Carbis Bay back 100 years prior? No one's the wiser. Western heat wave continues. Watching the Gulf of Mexico. Yes, there are many tropical systems developing, and we'll be reporting on it for you tomorrow. A dangerous heat wave will continue to bring record temperatures to much of the West through this week. Pales in comparison to what happened back in 1934. But I digress. A tropical disturbance in the southwest Gulf of Mexico will likely form into a tropical depression late this week and hit Galveston, of all places. That's my position. That's what we were saying 5 days ago when we were looking at the numbers. So heads up, Galveston. We'll keep a close eye on that for you there. Heavy rain could begin to impact portions of the northern Gulf Coast by Friday. So take a look at the heat warnings. Red flag warnings. It's windy. It's burning. It's hellish. It's summer. The summer of bummer. Here's the total precipitated moisture moving all the way through July 1st. And there is a little bit of a respite through the next 2 weeks in the Four Corners region, but nothing in these white zones. Absolutely a blank for California, most of Nevada, all of western Arizona, and northern Utah. You are going to be frying and drying. Earthquake swarm rattles area around California Lake. We're talking about the Salton Sea, and this is, well, bad news for the New Madrid, the San Andreas, and other faults in this region. The ground has come alive in Southern California near the Salton Sea. The region has seen more than 24 earthquakes over magnitude 2.5 since Friday when the ground began to shake, according to the USGS. The largest with the magnitude 4.3 tremor Friday, and the most recent was a magnitude 3.1 that struck at 10:28 a.m. with a depth of 7.5 miles, a.k.a. 10 kilometers, or a surface quake. The quakes are centered just northwest of Calipatria, a city about 7,000 people, including 3,000 inmates at Calipatria State Prison. Wow, sounds very familiar to the Observer Ranch. Now, this state prison is not near Observer Ranch. That's in Canyon City, but this one is near the Salton Sea, an inland desert lake. The town sits 184 feet below sea level, and, well, it's hot there. It's 35 miles north of the California-Mexico border, and it's rumbling. The earthquake swarm is occurring in the Brawley seismic zone that saw a similar swarm by magnitude 5.3 earlier this month. And, well, this whole region is acting up. We just did a video on the eruptive history of the Clear Lake volcanic field, which is having a similar swarm with, well, thousands more earthquakes, but I digress. Seismic update, no quakes of note. Thank goodness. We have a lot more to cover, so stay tuned. Well, that's a boom. There we are. Holy macaroni. It is still hot to trot. Holy macaroni. It feels like about 90 still in the barn here. And it's currently, well, 10 p.m. I just put the sprinklers on around 7 because the temperature dropped below 90. So we're going to be getting up early about 6 a.m. to do a little bit more watering and planting, because we are in the waxing phase of the moon, and that's when you need to plant, during the waxing crescent towards gibbous. So get her done. Where were we? Plate rupture has potential for stronger quakes. This source is coming from Costa Rica, and it is a Costa Rican quake of magnitude 5.7 that happened last week on Thursday, and it occurred on between the Coco and the Caribe plate, which was a very rare quake, and the motion was most disturbing because it doesn't usually happen in this way. And what it portends is more major earthquakes in this region offshore of Costa Rica because the Coco plate is now moving. And it hasn't, well, the Coco plate was only recently formed in geologic history, and it now appears to be subducting under the Caribe plate, so we could be seeing more major seismic activity off the coast of Costa Rica, perhaps some tsunamis we were never aware of near this trench here, where there are, well, subsurface cliffs which can displace water. You know how that works. Canary Islands, much. Iceland volcano eruption. Reckless tourist narrowly escapes dying in a lava flow. And when we mean narrowly, we mean holy macaroni, what a douche, what an idiot. I mean, this guy gets the Darwin Award for being the most clueless tart ever. He almost melted from the feet up to his knees in an instant. Could you imagine what that would feel like? I can't. But we're going to blow this up for you, and keep your eye over here by the arrow. There, little dot is the schmuck tart in reference or in question. It's questionable what his IQ level is, even above 80, 86. And the reason why is this massive amounts of lava flow are flowing in tubes underneath of this entire field. And occasionally the field ruptures out when there is a critical point. And now this tart is like wandering around way out of bounds, like maybe a half a kilometer. There he is running around like an ant. And wait until you see what is about to happen in this situation here. Wait till you see. Look at this is coming for him. He's over in this region there. You see him? There's the little ant, and look at what's coming for him. Holy shinoli. There he is. I'm sorry. Running for his life. There he is running for his life. Oh. Well, that was a close one. I will leave you links to the tourist, I got lucky. Etna volcano, another powerful lava fountaining episode overnight. Just 2 days since the preceding one, another paroxysm occurred at the new southeast crater over last night. Gorgeous display of Earth's power and glory. As the intervals had been longer in the beginning of the most recent paroxysm was generally a longer period of fluctuating and overall increasing activity. Here's the thermal. It came as a bit of a surprise. Very weak and intermittent Strombolian activity restarted at the crater probably during the afternoon. Now, over the last 48 hours, we've had paroxysms to 22,000 feet, this one to 19,000 feet. And, well, I'm a footman. So, worldwide volcano news. Fuego, Semaru, Sangay, Liwotolo, Nevados de Chilan, Nevados de Ruiz, and Sabancaya. All puffing to normal levels. Are you puffing to normal levels? The expected coronal hole stream is now moving past Earth near 560 kilometers per second and includes sectors of the southwest BZ. The minor G1 geomagnetic storm threshold was reached at 2100 UTC today. Further enhancements will be possible during the next 24 to 48 hours. There's the peak of the tippy touch of the boom. You can see GOES X-ray flux shows our sun shutting down into grand solar minimum norms. But as the standard Parker wave of the solar reversal happens quite regularly here, we see the sector boundary crossing happening exactly 30 hours ago. And you can see two pulses here in the density, up, and away, like a snow on a shovel before that plasma speed picks up. Now, during the sector boundary crossing, nothing happens in the solar wind speed. Nothing. It's quiet. It's like Mary Greeley's channel. It's just like crickets. And then shortly thereafter, you can see a double peak in the solar wind speed here. Like here, boom, boom. See that double peak? That is because of the prior double peak in density. You just learned something, I think. And subsequently, what happens is we go into G1 geomagnetic storm just for 3 hours, and then geomagnetic instability for 3, and we're waiting for the next update. Boom! There it is. Geomagnetic instability for the next 3 hours. Hours of powers. Now, we're talking about, and that's the coronal hole in question that has passed by us now, and we've now coupled with 68 and 69 as a power play. But we're looking for sunspot region 2833 right now, which is quite a nice looking spot. Smoke pot way up here, not near the equator, but still probably just south of that 30-degree mark, which doesn't happen according to some people, except it happens all the time whenever the sun wants to put one there, based on all observational information back to 1600. Now, 2833 is probably coming in at alpha. It's looking pretty well split, and there's nothing spectacular happening there. And why do we know this? Because you just come over, and you don't look at any of this shite. You look at the X-ray flux. And I can't even show you that because I've already accidentally erased. Let's reopen it. I accidentally erased the wrong thing. So anyway, Bill Gates is a potato farmer. Have you heard? We're not there yet. Here's 2833. There's that. And well, let's just take a look real quick and come over at the geomagnetic data provided courtesy of the USGS and NRCan. And this is the geoelectric field from today. And this has to do with that coronal hole stream coupling with us. And what we typically want to watch here is when it's now in the quiet between 1 and 10. When it starts to read up here into this green zone, we start to get worried. 100 is moderate. And when we get up to in the dark red and the purple, that's when we could see some perturbations to the grid, even frying in the grid. And we're going to be looking for one of the major events for that to be in the purple over major regions here, red and purple over much of the U.S., and even accentuating up into the white. So we're going to be using that feature moving forward. Now, there's an omega-3 fatty acid. Now, that means eat fish now in abundance. Become a pescatarian if you have to. That poisons cancer tumors. So if you know or love someone that has cancer or is fighting cancer, recommend omega-3s and read the paper, not a schmaper. We should be all worried about the United Nations Food Systems Summit. Why? Because schmucks like Bill Gates are involved. And a battle for the future of food has been underway for over a decade. I helped start the March Against Monsanto back in 2011, when our first marches worldwide happened in 2012. I was the organizer in Philadelphia, where we had thousands of people show up and surround City Hall. It's epic. There are videos online you can watch, multiple events. Then I organized 2 other events before I moved to Colorado. And we're here doing activism in our own way, in a rural area. But why should we be all worried about the United Nations Food Summit? Because the globalists want to control you and where you get your food. Now, a lot of people have been speculating all over the internet about why Bill Gates is the largest owner of farmland. And some people say because it's smart cities and this, that, and the other, and he's going to control us all, and there's slave camps and prison camps where he's going to execute us all, give us the vaccine. But if you take a breath and you realize the situation and you look at Fox News, this headline, holy macaroni, you're going to find out that 98% of all the farmland Bill Gates bought was to grow potatoes for Monsanto. Now, if this guy cared about you, and he's the vaccine czar of the world, and he cared about the population and starving people, he certainly wouldn't be providing 100% of all the French fries for McDonald's, which is what his farmland is being used for. It's simply a money-making ploy to build and grow the biggest multinational corporation, which is causing obesity and sickness amongst hundreds of millions of people worldwide, which is fueling big pharma, diabetes, and other things, which he has his teeth in. And have you seen Bill Gates' teeth? Holy shit, it's completely disgusting. Good news, the Flux Capacitor now available online at O'Reilly Auto Parts. So if you're trying to build a DeLorean and you're trying to get that system up to 121 gigawatts, the material used is plutonium. Working speed is 88 miles per hour, just like the movie. Maximum power, 121 gigawatts. You can now get the Flux Capacitor Part 121G line EB at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Check the link. I do digress. Crazy worms threaten America's trees and gasp our maple syrup. Now, when I was a child living in the Northeast, I always wondered, when I was digging in the dirt, which I did quite often, probably half the days of the year, in the backyard under the silver maples, in my sandbox where I get infantego, which forever affected my legs with scars that are hellacious. But we won't be showing those tonight. Or will we? No. These strange red wiggler type green worms jump around and look insane. That's the crazy worms, an Asian exotic worm that is destroying America as we speak. Now, they are threatening the maple syrup industry and many other deciduous trees. Well, let's just get it out. Since we colonized, raped, and murdered tens of millions of Native Americans hundreds of years ago, we brought all kind of exotic species to this planet or this continent here in North America, and we didn't give a shit. As we moved west and we murdered more people and we gave more disease, we spread the pestilence and disease west. And now we're left with the shithole that we're stuck with called the United States of Fucktardia. Whew. And I think a mosquito is biting my forehead. World's smallest dinosaur is actually a weird prehistoric lizard. That's because, as scientists always do, they move quickly. They speak out of the side of their, and they're wrong. And they might be wrong again, but probably not. It was a fucking lizard. Now, new discovery coming out a year after they discovered the mRNA vaccine, which is saving us. A new discovery in genetics shows human cells can write RNA sequences into the DNA, literally changing the genome. So those who have gotten the jab, dab, dab, you're fluxed. You are a new species. And those that haven't, well, let's team up. Because we are the new Denisovians, Neanderthals, and we're fighting the sapiens. Well, the jab sapiens, or whatever you want to call them. Now the termination event may be coming early, according to Tony Phillips, and plasma physicists in my state. Yes, up in, I think it's in Boulder. Who knows? But the termination event is not the made-up nonsense bullshit that Doug Vogt talks about, or suspicious observers, the micronova, the made-up bullshit line. Because all that is a super flare sequence, and it doesn't need the term micronova to make anyone famous or a book to sell. There was no term called micronova because it was just invented by ass-tarts that are selling books to make money. Isn't that funny? It's just a super flare sequence. You can have super flares and mega flares, and if you want to rename them micronovas and sell a book, well, so be it. But you're just making shit up, words. And in case you didn't get the memo, language is a bunch of made-up sounds called words. You schmucks. Now, the ancients didn't need the term micronova or whatever, mini nova or whatever you want to make up to sell books and scare people. But it was called it was a super flare. It was a flare of the sun. It was a coronal mass ejection of epic proportions. It's a better way to say it so people can actually understand what you're saying. And I just said it. But the termination event is not that event. It's a magnetic event that happens on the sun that is so insignificant that if you're on the planet Earth, you'll never notice it. But people are so easily scared and put on edge of their seat that they tend to misinterpret words and sentences. So let's make this very clear. The termination event on the sun happens about every 11 years, and that's what triggers the next uptick in the next solar cycle. And if this termination event happens in the next few months, it will be a very short one. And according to the team here that put out this paper, if the termination event that we will not notice on Earth, no one will notice it because it has to do with magnetic fields on the sun that we can't notice, then what it predicts is that the next cycle, the one we're in now, cycle 25, will be massive. And if it is massive, and we have massive coronal mass ejections and solar flares, that will put huge pressure on the grid worldwide. And with our waning magnetosphere and what's happening with our magnetic excursion, then our predictions that we had 3-4 years ago that the grid will go down in 2023 and 4 is true. Maybe as early as 2022. Could be the beginning, if it is this massive cycle they're talking about. It also negates the work of Zarkova, the entire hypothesis of the grand solar minimum, and may have everything to do with the fact that the magnetic excursion, which is completely galactic in origin, is shutting down our sun and creating an abnormal cycle, which creates the super flare event that has been recorded time immemorial in the petroglyphs. Who knows? But I hope I cleared up a little bit about that termination event terminology. Now, if you're looking for something to do this summer, how about the Jackalope Freedom Festival? Bring your guns, it's all free, and bring your shit to sell. What the hell did I just do? There it is. Yes, the Jackalope Freedom Festival. First 2 weeks of August, in the middle of nowhere. Free to camp, free to vend, free to attend. Forest Lakes, Heber, Overguard, Arizona in the Baca Meadows, where you'll see anarchists, the likes of which we support, like Larkin Rose and many others, who believe that oligarchs are nothing more than schmucks who can suck it. We love that idea. Let's boom the knowledge. Hope you got something out of the video. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. In a dystopian world that we have to explain everything to you, well, not to all of you. A lot of you have been following us for years. And for that, we say cheers. Thanks to all our one-time donors, our patriots, our Patreons, and the people that share these videos. You're all heroes. We love you. Be safe. And that's a boom to knowledge. Click on one of the other boxes to gain more of it. And we'll see you all again tomorrow.